Charisma. If you don't have it, then your characters probably should. Today, we're talking about charisma, or rizz as the Gen Xers call it when they're blasting their big band music and talking to each other on their Motorola Razrs. This country is going to hell. Anyway, charisma is one of the most sought after attributes of a character. Many of the great characters in fiction, heroes and villains alike, are defined by the charisma they possess. Or possibly the charisma that they lack. That's also a possibility. What goes into crafting a charismatic character, though? That's what we're going to talk about today. I mean, if you guys want to, totally up to you. I'm open to anything. I'm just glad that there are people here with me and that you didn't just leave. For obvious reasons, I can't demonstrate it, so instead, let's start by defining charisma. I'm going to use a slightly different definition for charisma. People lump a bunch of concepts in with charisma, and it is sort of a bit of a nebulous concept, but you'll see why I'm using this definition later on. Anyway, for the purposes of this video, I'm defining charisma as the ability to generate positive responses to one's interactions with other people, the ability to articulate one's viewpoint in a broadly understandable way, and the ability to demonstrate a future-oriented mindset, which may include vision, goals, aspirations, etc., etc. Let's break each of these down a little bit more. Positive reactions means that people respond to the charismatic person in a certain way. We are naturally drawn to people with charisma. We want to agree with what they say. We want to buy what they are selling. We want to spend more time with them. They are not repulsive or boring or unengaging. Charismatic people are fundamentally good at manipulation. Now, the word manipulation has a lot of negative connotations to it, and you can manipulate people in all sorts of negative ways, which is why charismatic villains are a thing. However, you can also manipulate someone in a positive way as well. When the head coach gives the sports ball team a heartwarming speech at the beginning of the 5th quarter when they're down by 11 baskets to 8 baskets, and he makes them change their mindset, then he's manipulated the team into believing in themselves. When I ask you to subscribe to my channel, I'm manipulating you to... Who am I kidding? Nobody wants to watch more of this stuff. Charisma includes the ability to manipulate people, to bring them into your way of thinking, whether that's good or bad. Even someone recognizing you as charismatic involves you doing stuff that influences their thinking to make them think that you are charismatic. Even if they are 100% coming to that conclusion on their own, if they think that you are charismatic, it's because you've demonstrated things that make them think that you're charismatic, which, and it might be a bit of a philosophical debate, you could argue is some degree of manipulation. Charisma also involves clear communication. Charismatic individuals get their ideas across in a way that many people understand. We are drawn to them because we are drawn to their ability to communicate the ideas. They are a beacon of information in a sea of people who don't make any sense. The last part of charisma is the ability to articulate a vision, a plan. Charismatic people are usually leaders. Leaders rally people around some kind of goal. When the world is going to hell because of those Gen Xers who only want to fiddle with their hot rods outside the malt shop, being able to show a path out of this mess is a real sign of charisma. An important point to note here is that charismatic people both have this vision and also actively work to create it. That's what separates them from non-charismatic people. Either people who don't have a vision at all or don't act to make it a reality. If you aren't acting towards your vision, then you're probably not charismatic. Charisma is not the same thing as likability. Likability is a feature of charisma, generally, but I would argue you can have a likable character who is not charismatic. You can have a likable character who is not good at communicating, a likable character who is maybe socially awkward, a likable character who doesn't necessarily have any goals or any vision or who isn't taking action on making those things happen. Confidence is also not the same thing as charisma. Confidence is a lack of fear, a willingness to move forward into uncertainty, a willingness to deal with the consequences of your actions. That's an element of charisma, but charisma is more about the magnetism around your actions. Confidence is the willingness to take those actions. The most important thing about writing charismatic characters is that the reader needs to think of the character as charismatic. Now, that might seem really obvious, but there's a subtle nuance here, and that's that charisma exists in the thoughts of other people. You are charismatic because other people think you are charismatic. So if you want a character to come across as charismatic, you need to add those thoughts into the reader's mind. When you have a character who creates the reaction of charisma in the story around them, but the reader doesn't find that character charismatic, that's when you get into Mary Sue, Gary Stu territory. You have a fundamentally uncharismatic character who is affecting your story in a charismatic way. That's not good because it will draw the reader out of the story. It will seem like the other characters are reacting in an unrealistic way. It will make the character you're trying to make charismatic seem less likable, creates all kinds of problems. The reader has to resonate with the interactions that the charismatic character is making. If they feel like the other characters are reacting in a believable way, then you will have this resonance, and the reader will also think that the character is charismatic. The actions that the other characters are taking, the response that they're having to this character, will seem in line with the reader's expectations. The agency that a character has also goes a long way to making them appear more charismatic. Having a vision and working towards that vision in a brave way naturally makes someone seem more charismatic. You can do this by laying out the goals and the motivations of the character so that the reader realizes they have this vision in the first place and are working towards it. You can also show the character taking action without the reader necessarily knowing what they are working towards. That's another way you can approach it. This is common with villains who are charismatic. Usually their intentions are hidden in the shadows, but we can see signs that they are working up to something. We can see signs that they have some kind of goal, some kind of plan, even if we don't necessarily know what it is. I mean, this guy has talked his way into 3 separate tours of this nuclear power plant over the last week. Something is up. And of course, the lazy-ass Gen X security guard is too busy playing with his PlayStation Portable and listening to the latest jazz records to notice that anything is up. Charismatic characters also absorb difficulty quite well. They are usually unflappable, responding fully to whatever situation arises, whether they need to navigate a cocktail party or lead the survivors of a plane crash to safety. Cool-headedness is another attribute of charisma that's related to vision, and having a character display this type of behavior is a good way to make them seem more charismatic. If you have a situation where a bunch of other characters start freaking out about something and one character doesn't freak out and kind of leads the situation to a resolution, then that will make them seem more charismatic. Here you're relying on some foiling behavior between all the non-charismatic characters who are freaking out about whatever is happening, and the charismatic character who actually has a plan, who actually has a way out of the situation. That's a good way to demonstrate, using just the reaction of other characters, that this character is charismatic. Remember ultimately that the impression of a character being charismatic is an impression that has to be formed in the reader's mind. Focus on giving them evidence of the character's charisma through all of the things that we talked about in this video, and they will more likely to be coming across as charismatic. Unlike me, do I have something charismatic to end this video with? Obviously not. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.